Hello, it is Kayla Godby, and we are planting seeds with the partnership. And this is our second podcast episode. We hope you enjoyed the first one. It was a joy to record, and today's guest is yet another phenomenal leader at Durham's Partnership for Children, and it is none other than our Early Head Start director, Ms. Shekema Crawford. Shekema Crawford has over 20 years in the education field, so we're really lucky. We're really pulling a lot of knowledge. So for any parents, community members, and anyone just interested in early childhood education, we really have some nuggets for you today, just about our program and the things that we're offering. So, Miss Shekema, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. It is a wonderful day, and I am so excited to be speaking with you today. So, 20 years in early childhood education, like that's a lot. That's a lot.
It is.
So, how'd you get started? What inspired you to go into education? Tell us a little bit about your story and your background in education.
So, the education field, I feel like actually chose me. I started out just really babysitting in my neighborhood that I grew up in. And I come from a real close-knit family. So we grew up in a town called Crawford. It's right outside of Fayetteville. And then I stayed in the Hope Mills area. And so it was just really a close-knit family. I babysat in the neighborhood. And then for our high school, we were able to choose like a professional career that we were looking at. And we had a little bit of a list that we could choose from. And so childcare was one of the ones that was on that list. And so I kind of chose that childcare curriculum to do that and was able to participate in that for my high school. But then I had an older cousin that I was very close to. She was a single parent and she had a little boy. Mm-hmm. And he was actually able to go to a home daycare. And so like during the summer, I was able to volunteer at that home child care center and be there with him and a couple of other children. I want to say it may have been about 4 children total.
Okay.
And so I just kind of did that, and it continued to grow, and it continued just to embed in me. And so I have just continued that career on up. And so I went to Fayetteville Tech and I got my associate's degree. I then moved to Missouri, and that's where I actually started being an actual Head Start teacher. Okay. And so in Missouri, that was my Head Start experience and my very first Head Start experience as a teacher.
Okay. So because I know like for me, I work on the outskirts of most of our programs. So what is that experience like being a early Head Start teacher? Because that means a lot to have the director actually have been a part of the program and been a teacher before. So you know what goes on in the classrooms. What's your experience like in the classroom when you were in Missouri?
So for that Head Start experience, I had 3 to 5 year olds. And it was 20 children. Oh, wow. It was 2 teachers, yes. And we had a part-day program. So the classroom that I had was 20 children, 2 teachers. And my children came from 8 to 12. And they came from Monday through Thursday. And that experience actually got me into really wanting to learn even more with special needs with that classroom. Okay. There was about 7 to 8 special needs children, but out of those 7 to 8, 3 of them had very defined autistic characteristics and having an IEP, and that really honed me in on really trying to even learn about special education. And like I had been in the classroom before being in that Head Start, but that piece of it really got to me because I was actually able to do like the home visits and actually being able to make a connection even with the family and seeing like the whole entire piece of how all of that went together. And that just drew me in because I was able to figure out the backgrounds. I was able to make those connections with the parents, able to walk in with those children with those processes of getting supports, those referrals, just really being able to get those children the supports that they needed. And that's what truly helped hone in on all of that.
And I noticed when I was reading your bio that your master's is in education, but you have a specialization in special ed. So that helps me understand like what drove you down that road. But what is the the biggest difference? You've been in it for a while that you've noticed. Has there been any improvements in special education, or is there any needs that you see that you would like to see be done better in the
There has
classroom?
definitely been a change. So along with that, those children in that classroom being a piece of it, my oldest son, both of my children were diagnosed with a speech delay. And so that
Okay.
also helped for me to really start seeing what was needed. And you can definitely see a difference from before with special education till now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
really making sure that their children are actually included instead of doing all of the pull out. And that's one of the things that really
Right.
help with Head Start and early Head Start is that when the therapists are coming in, they're actually going into the classroom to support the children
Mm-hmm.
versus doing that pull out. So you have that true inclusive classroom environment. Some of the things
I
that
love that.
one of the things that I have noticed is just really getting the helping the parents to understand the change that has happened with special education and helping them to
Mm-hmm.
feel supported and them to understand that they are also advocates for their children and being able to know that
Mm-hmm.
whole inclusive piece of it so that way they will know and understand that their children are not being labeled, that their children are not going to be excluded from the classroom, that they're actually being included. One of the blessings for the children in the early Head Start and the Head Start is a lot of the goals that the children have when they're having that IFSP or that IEP, or those goals can actually be
Mm-hmm.
something that's taught to all the children. So once again, they're not being excluded. It's something that all the children are able
Right.
to learn and do learn. And so that's the good piece about bringing all of that together.
I love that
Hmm.
inclusive approach because I remember being a kid and being in school. And honestly, back then I would always think like I want to go with them because I want
Hmm.
to leave the classroom. But I was, I think that's important to not ostracize or make a kid feel different just because they learn differently. So that's really amazing because, special needs can go from an array of things. Like you said, it can be a speech impediment. It could
Hmm.
be, the way they learn. They may be more audio visual. So that's really amazing that you still, nowadays they still make kids feel included in the
Absolutely.
classroom. So now that we've had a little bit of background on you, tell us about Early Head Start, just for those who don't know about the program, what it offers. Give us a little bit of information about
So
Early
the
Head
Early
Start.
Head Start program is actually a federally funded program. And that program actually provides comprehensive services for our families and children that come from low income households. And so we're looking at the whole child and also helping the parents, bringing all of those things together. And the main focus is to enable parents to fulfill their role as the parents and understand how to advocate for their
Mm-hmm.
children, but then move towards that self sufficiency of knowing how to navigate all the different dimensions of life and education. For our Early Head
Mm-hmm.
Start program, of course, we're under the Durham's Partnership for Children as an entity with the partnership. Um, we initially got funded in 2009. And so our program serves 136 children, and I'm sorry, 172 children. 136 of those children are served through center based option, and 36 of those children are
Okay.
served through the home based option. So we provide those two options for our families. And so with our center based option, we actually partner with 6 childcare facilities that's in the Durham County area. And then for our home base, we
Mm-hmm.
partner through the um, Center Child for Family Health to do our home based services. And then we, looking at that whole child, our program has different elements of working with families. So we have a family and service and health manager that also supervises our family service coordinators who do a lot of hands-on services and supports for the families.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the education piece that has the education disability manager. We have an infant toddler specialist, and then we're getting some resource teachers that's really going to be in those classrooms and really supporting the children while they're in the classrooms, but also supporting the teachers. So we have the education disability manager position
Mm-hmm.
with the infant toddler and resource teachers. And so that those roles really go into the classrooms and support the children, as well as coaching teachers and providing support services and supports for the teachers. And then we have our mental health and wellness manager, that goes in and actually helps with the social, emotional supports with the teachers, the children, and even the families to provide those
That's
comprehensive
amazing.
services.
That's amazing. I know that speaks to just our work at the partnership,
Mm-hmm.
because mental health, mental and social emotional stability is just as important as the educational factor. And I love that, we try to incorporate that holistic approach in everything we do. So that's amazing. Even, as a parent, to hear that if my child was going to early Head Start, this is the support they'd be getting. Not only are they learning in the classroom, but they have family support. Their teachers are being supported mentally and emotionally, as well as the children. So that's a really good environment and holistic approach. I love that. So with early Head Start, like, I'm a new parent.
Mm-hmm.
I have a child who, she's 0 to 3, and I'm looking actively, trying to figure out where I want to, go, where I want to put her. What would the difference be for me, in center based or home based? How would I decide, or what would you recommend as best for that child?
So the main thing is finding out what the parents' needs are and what the children's needs are. With the
Okay.
home-based program, we have home visitors that have usually a caseload of about 12, 10 to 12 families on their caseload, and they work with the families in the home. And so they'll do one visit a week, and that visit is roughly about 90 minutes. And they
Okay.
use the parents as teachers curriculum to help the parents to be really engaged into the child's learning and do a lot of that hands-on coaching and support for parents, because we all believe that parents are the first teachers. And so really honing in on that model and helping them to really be engaged with their children. With the center-based model, that goes into the children being into the classroom. And so with that classroom piece of it, um, we have 8 children in the classroom to 2 teachers, and it's roughly is a
Okay.
6.5 hour day. But then if the families are needing a longer day, up to those 10 hours, there's supports that we're able to provide for them to either try to apply for a DSS voucher or work with CCSA for them to have that extended time. And so those are, and
Okay.
the creative curriculum is the curriculum that's used in the classroom. And so those are the two dynamics of the differences. One is actually being in the home, and the other is being in the center. For the center, for the home base, they also are able to do socialization, so that way all the children are at least able to see each other, greet each other, and have
Okay.
activities. So they are still hitting on that socialization. Whereas in the
Mm-hmm.
classroom, the children are seeing each other every day. And so with that center
Right.
base, it is Monday through Friday.
Okay, that's really helpful to know. I mean, like, I know we have the website, but it's just different to hear the perspective of the director. So that's amazing. Thank you. So all the parents out there, we have options for you. We have center base, we have home base. So just check out our website, and Early Head Start might be the option for you. So you are the director. How does it feel? What are some positives? What are some challenges that you encounter? And what are some rewards that you get from being the director and running the show?
Um, for the director piece, it really is wearing a lot of hats and really making sure that the program is benefiting the families and the children, but also that the program is working for the staff and working for the teachers and the directors
Mm-hmm.
and for the community. So just putting all those pieces together and strategically ensuring that you're meeting all those federal guidelines and those performance standards and the state regulations, um, because they sometimes cross over. Usually it's like that main challenge that we face and that I face. But for the
Mm-hmm.
positives of it is really being able to see like the growth, really being able to serve the community, and making sure that we're having that purpose. Like you can actually see the
Right.
purpose of the program, and you can see the purpose of the partnership, and how all of those entities are twining together to support the community and the children, and just really making sure that we're going the extra mile. One of the positives that I really enjoy about it is that even though we're looking at those families that's also in those low income households, we also look at those families who have those children with special needs or special educational
Mm-hmm.
needs or special health needs, and also families that are homeless, and giving them a chance to be able to be a part of the program and trying our best to close in that educational gap. in early childhood and getting ready for school readiness and into kindergarten and just life in general is those positives. And that main reward is just seeing the growth of the children, seeing the growth of the families, seeing the growth of even the teachers and the staff and the directors, just everybody communicating and growing together is the true reward that goes along with it, and knowing that you have had a positive impact on the lives of children and families.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So, what would you say is the most like interesting or the most captivating or interesting part of your like day-to-day job, working within the sites?
So being able to go out to the sites, especially now that we have become in person, COVID has truly made a difficult transition, just with the lives of everybody. And you can see where families have not been able to, socialize and being able to let the children socialize. And so now that we're going in person, seeing the families trying to connect with the teachers and getting creative with how we're connecting with the parents and how to get the children to even connect with each other and start trying to communicate with each other, is really that piece of that day-to-day, and making sure that we're following the performance standards and the children are actually learning and the teachers are engaged and interacting. So really trying to bring all of it together. It's funny because usually what we're doing now is what happens in the very beginning of the program year. But now that we started in person in February, it's getting the beginning of the program year happening in the middle of the program year.
Oh,
and
wow.
so really just that has been a huge challenge, but a fun challenge all in itself.
Awesome. So as a parent, like what would be the most beneficial tip for me to know entering into early Head Start with my child from your perspective?
Right now, with COVID still being there, a lot of the rules have changed where unfortunately only the parents are not able to come into the centers, because everybody's trying to limit, all the exposure to different people. And so that has been that main challenge. And so getting the parents to, all of us coming up with creative ways for the parents to know what's going on with their children, and what their day was like, because that's one of the things that parents were able to do is communicate with the teachers during pickup or drop off, is having those communications and those conversations about what the children's day was like, or even if the child was having a rough morning or something, or there was something that was going on, having that communication. And so now it's coming up, letting the parents understand that we're going to be coming up with different creative ways to ensure they're still getting the communication that they're needing to get, so they know exactly what's going on with the children, what's been happening in the classrooms. And a lot of that is including the parents getting lesson plans, the parents getting menus. There may be Zoom calls, there may be phone calls, there may be a couple of text messages, but really getting that communication across, but knowing that their children are still in a safe environment. They are still learning, they're still growing and developing, and that the teachers are still there in the trenches, ready to learn and grow, make whatever transitions that's needed for the children to become comfortable about being in the classrooms again and learn how to interact and socialize and make friends and communicate.
Wow. So and I'm honing in on the parent questions right now, because I'm a new parent, so I love all this information. And so for parents, have you seen like an uptick in people being excited to get back into, a sense of normalcy, take their kids to early Head Start and, get them back into a routine? Or is there still some hesitation because of COVID?
We have actually seen an increase of the families wanting to be in person. And wanting their children to be in the classrooms. And so we have definitely seen that. And so some of the things that we let the parents know is that they're not alone in this. We understand that the concerns that they're having, that they want their children to be supported, they want their children to be in person, but they also, most importantly, want their children to be safe. And so we have definitely been communicating with the families a lot more about how we've been handling the situations of just COVID in general, and what we've been doing to keep everything safe, and how we've been proactive in that. And then we let the parents know that we're here as a support. We are a non-judgment
Right.
zone. We are here as a support system, not just to the children, but to the parents and also the teachers and the families, and that we're just here to make sure that they're getting all that they're needing and really helping them to provide tools and giving them tools and resources to fill their own toolkit as parents and as individuals to help them to meet their goals and being a part of that goal making process of those steps and ensuring that they're meeting that.
I think that's really like amazing that there's an uptick because we at the partnership in general have been advocating for, funds to be distributed to, the infrastructure of early childhood education. And this is exactly why we need them. Not only is COVID presenting a special set of needs, for the classroom and for teachers to have to be safe and protect the children that are there and protect themselves. But people still long to have those in-person contacts, the education. Like, it's different, learning from home. It's not to say that it's a bad thing, but there's just different ways to approach the situation. And so we have to tend to everyone. Everyone doesn't want to learn from home. So in order to accommodate everyone, I just love the fact that there's, people are really excited to get into the classroom. So that's amazing to hear, especially in the midst of a pandemic.
Yes.
Because we blame Rona for everything.
Yes.
We blame her for everything.
Yes.
What have you learned and discovered being the Early Head Start director? Like, is there anything different that you do or know now being the director that you weren't privy to when you were a teacher? Or has anything changed?
With any position that you have, you definitely learn a lot more. And so starting as a teacher, it was always one of those, well, why can't we get 3 other teachers in here? Or why we can't do this? Or why we can't do that? And now being able to be in this role is like, oh, these are all the dynamics that go along with it. So this is how this performance standard works. This is how we're supposed to implement this, especially like with the paperwork. That's one of the things that I always was like, why are we doing so much paperwork and documentation and writing down? And now that I have gotten into that role and been able to move and see all the moving pieces, is now coming full circle to be like, we have to document what we're doing so that way we're able to present whenever we're having a monitoring, what we have been doing with education, what we've been doing with family service and all the different service areas, really making sure that if there's a concern that we're giving the parents the correct information, but also having that documentation of why we're asking for these types of supports or doing this referral. So really being able to hone in on all the whys that may not have gotten answered whenever I was a teacher. And so that's one of the benefits of I feel like one of the other rewards of being a director role is that I'm able to now give the teachers the why behind what we're doing, or the why behind something that we're trying to change or implement into the classroom. Because I have definitely learned that if you give individuals the why, even though they may not want to do it, they start to see the benefit behind it, and they're more in tune to go ahead and do it without having to feel like it's irrelevant to what their job is. And so really getting that opportunity to do that. And then with COVID, it has just completely taken our brains into a whole nother way of thinking, and a whole nother way of looking at things, and just giving an eye opener of how quickly something can happen and have a huge effect on teachers and children and families, staff, just everyone in general. So really looking at all of those pieces and those moving parts.
Now, I do want to know, and this is just curiosity, I want you to take your director hat off as far as the, looking for funds and policies, but if there was one thing that you could do and change in Early Head Start without any restrictions, what would you improve on or implement?
Looking at everything now, and especially with what we are looking at and facing now in the classrooms, with the needs of the children being so great, but not only with the needs of the children being so great, the needs of the teachers are also great. if I could have unlimited funds, I would definitely have a lot more supports in the classroom, um,
Okay.
for the teachers and for the children. One of the great things about our supervisor and our executive director, I think she saw this coming in, and she took on
Mm-hmm.
this early Head Start project. I think she saw it coming in. I think she had already strategically looked at that entire picture, and that's how she developed having that mental health and wellness manager role instead of
Mm-hmm.
it being contracted, just because she already saw that the need was going to be so great, just for that social emotional piece and the supports that's going to be needed whenever we would go back in person. So that's one of those starting points that's already there. And then if I could build on it, just having more teachers and resources in those classrooms for the children and the teachers.
Okay. That's awesome, because I know like that's the reoccurring theme. It's like,
Hmm.
teachers have the one of the hardest jobs in the world,
They
and
do.
they don't have enough support. And I think we can all agree on that,
Hmm.
that they don't have enough support, and they're literally planting the seeds and giving our children the foundation that they need to begin their life and be on the set path to success. So
Hmm.
it's a heavy burden to carry with not enough
It
support, and I
is.
think it says a lot. It speaks
It
volumes.
does. If the teachers actually could get paid more for what they're
Right.
doing, um, that would be like those amazing pieces to bring all that together. Hmm.
Absolutely. And I know, advocacy wide, we are partnering along with NCECE, and they're doing a worthy wages campaign,
Hmm.
and they're really campaigning and advocating for teachers to, get better wages. So hopefully, that's something that you guys see the partnership doing, that you
Yes.
will want to support, because it makes a difference in the classroom, and it makes a difference for your children, and if not your children, your neighbors' children. We're a community, so all of these things are interdependent on each other. And so my last question for you, because I know
Hmm.
personally that we have some openings at Early Head Start.
Yes.
So what are you looking for? Like, give us that push, advertise and tell people what they need to know if they are interested in working for Early Head Start.
So we are definitely looking for that classroom support. We are in the we have education and disability manager position that is currently available and open. And then we're also having our resource teacher positions available. And so those resource teachers is that extra support that goes into the classroom and helps provide planning time for the teachers. If we have classrooms that have um, a lot of children that's having special needs, special educational needs, or special health needs,
Mm-hmm.
being able to go in and be the extra support for those teachers a couple of days out the week for a few hours, really being able to help in if we're needing a teacher is out for the day and the director is needing a substitute to help in that early Head Start classroom for that day, really being able to be that true resource teacher and providing that support. And then it goes along with that education piece of classroom management and transitioning, and get some consistency with the teachers in the classrooms so those children can realize that they have consistency and that classroom is like their second home. And so those are
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
roles that are opening right now. And then I am in the process of also interviewing for a family service and health manager. And so those are the
Wow.
ones that are positions that are open for those managerial roles. We're looking for someone that has a master's degree in education for that family service piece, education, family service, social services piece is for those two. And
Okay.
then for the educational piece, for those resource teachers, we're looking at associate's degree or higher for those resource teachers. And then if we have an
Associate's
infant
degree or
toddler
higher.
specialist
Okay.
position, and then if we get a infant toddler specialist, a second infant toddler specialist position, that one will be having a bachelor's degree and being one of those coaches for the teachers as well.
Awesome. Well, if you are interested or you feel like you fit the mold of any of those positions, you can definitely submit your application and apply. These are listed on our website at www.dpfc.net, and they're on our career page. So if you want to apply that way, but please don't look her up and send her an email, because that will
Yep.
not work. Mm-mm.
No.
So
And then we do have some of the childcare sites are also looking for early Head Start teachers.
awesome.
And so for that piece right there, because they're the early childhood sites are not on there. They could send me an email just asking and inquiring which site, and then I can direct them to which sites.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So that just about rounds out our conversation. Is there any last inspirational words that you want to leave us with, or anything that stuck with you today?
Just for the parents and just for the parents in the community to know that we are definitely here as a support, and we understand all the different dynamics, and we are here as that support to help the children grow, but also to help the families grow. And we are a very tight-knit community to really ensure that we are closing in that educational gap and helping the children and families grow, learn, develop, and getting them ready, not just for the early education piece of it, but just school and life in general.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shekema, for being our guest. We appreciate you. This information was very beneficial for me, and I can speak firsthand as a new parent, just as somebody interested in the program. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And you have listened to Planting Seeds with the Partnership. We hope that this conversation was beneficial to you. We hope that this is something that will help you navigate on your early childhood education endeavors. If you have any questions, any concerns, visit our website at www.dpfc.net, and we hope to see you next time.